Welcome, everyone, to the Firing the Man podcast. On today's episode, it is part two of the interview with Kiefer Hogge. Kiefer is a beginning seller on Amazon, and if you listened last week, we had a great coaching call. Now, Ken, this is one of our first coaching calls that we've done, and it went so well that we had to break it out into a two-part episode. What were some of your key takeaways from the interview?
Yeah, absolutely. It's really good to get back. You and I were there, a few years ago, David, and to get back to, someone like Kiefer just starting out. It's pretty cool sharing the knowledge. The conversation went so well, it ran long, so we cut it into two parts. We covered quite a bit. Kiefer is he's pretty deep into the process of getting ready to launch his first product on Amazon. So he had tons of questions for us. Kiefer's been he's been around a few years working on MLMs and Shopify stores, drop shipping and things like that. So he's got some pretty well-rounded knowledge. But yeah, we touched on several topics, listing, shipping, sourcing, things like that. It was a great conversation.
Absolutely. For all you country music listeners out there, there's a song by Brad Paisley called Letter to Me. And he talks about in this song what he wish if he were to write a letter, what it would say to his kid self. And, when I think of this interview, I feel like we were passing along a lot of knowledge that we wish that we would have known at the beginning of our process. And so really looking forward to this interview. Enjoy. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thank you guys. Absolutely. Like I said, super excited to be on this call with you guys.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So first things first, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Yeah. So I've kind of been in this space for, I'd say, quite a bit of time. I mean, about 4 years. I mean, nothing too serious, just because I think it was a lack of focus as far as like what I was after. I think it really started out as far as like the online market, and the idea of making money online was with surveys. There's probably like a handful of people, more than that be like, oh yeah, I've definitely tried to make the money online doing surveys, which isn't anything great, of course. And then I think it was on Facebook that I actually seen an ad. It was affiliate marketing. I mean, at that time I had no idea really what it was, and that's kind of where I started really digging in. It was like, wow, people are making a full-time income online through affiliate marketing. So I learned a lot about like website building, marketing, Facebook ads, Google, blogs. I've tried stuff. I mean, I've been through a lot of different courses. I've tried different stocks. I tried doing stocks trading. And then once I realized that making money online wasn't exactly the easiest thing, I think I gotten introduced into kind of like multi-level marketing. And one of the best ones I kind of hopped on was, it was called Primerica, and that's actually like it's like a financial kind of business. So they also do like stocks and such. So basically it's like a financial education. And so I kind of hopped in that and learned a lot as far as, what it takes, any business perspective, anything like that, like a lot of, hard work. But I dropped out of that because it still just wasn't what I was looking for. I mean, the idea with Amazon is having something where you're not having to constantly put effort into. People make it really big in network marketing, but for me, it was there was a lot of friction with my personality and trying to do that. So then I kind of jumped back to, I want to go back online. I tried drop shipping, and I tried it on like a zero budget kind of way. Like you go to YouTube and they're like, you just go to, you set up your website, you go to Alibaba. I think my first store I tried on there was called Toxic Style. I just thought it sounded cool. It had nothing to do with anything. And I tried to sell like wooden watches, and I was literally copying, pasting everything from Alibaba so nothing worked out. And I was like, man, this isn't working. And I spent hundreds of dollars on Facebook ads. And so, I mean, I've a lot of learned lessons as far as what it takes. For me, I feel like Amazon's the easy streak if you have the investment, versus drop shipping, like through Shopify specifically. Just because once I kind of hopped in, not knowing anything, and then stepping back and realizing everything I'd done wrong, There's really a lot more as far as like branding, I feel, as far as being successful in drop shipping. And when I'm kind of putting the pieces together now, it seems like Amazon's the best place to start, and then kind of bridging out to like your own store as far as that goes. Um, so yeah, I mean, I've done quite a different things. I've tried doing like real estate flipping. I took a course on that. Uh, didn't work out well here just because there wasn't much of that. Like you basically to someone saying you have a buyer. So I got through LinkedIn. I tried connecting with like investors who might want to buy property. I was driving around. I'd see houses that were for sale by owner, and I'd go talk to them. But the issue was I could never really find someone who had $200,000, $300,000 cash to buy a house, and somehow fudge some paperwork in there where I got $1,000 in that. So yeah, I mean, I've got like quite a wide range of things. I've tried car sales. I've been doing construction for 7 years, but I actually quit for about 6 months to try out doing car sales, which was fine, but there was a lot of friction there. Being my background with Primerica and my financial education, selling people cars and having them pay $600 a month when they told me they could only afford $300 made me feel bad. So yeah, no, I've tried a lot of different things, and so I think Amazon is a good place to really tie in all the stuff I've learned over time as far as branding, marketing, and all those different things, and just really kind of buckle down, because I think Amazon can really be the best way to go. Something that obviously right off the bat versus when I tried drop shipping was you have trust. People shop on Amazon all the time. Most people don't even know that there's third-party sellers. Some people still think that Amazon's the somehow gets all these products and ships them out. And so obviously you have the trust right off then. And then with the 2-day shipping, it's kind of like a no-brainer for me. I don't even like shopping on other sites other than Amazon, honestly. So for me, it just kind of makes sense to kind of go about it. So that's where I'm at now.
Well, I love that story, and I love that you have gathered experiences from a bunch of different areas. We get on this podcast, I sometimes talk about our successful brands, but just to, you were talking about flipping houses. Been there. I had a cutting board business. I invested about $5,000 into a brand new table saw and tools. That was a flop. I lost money on that. And Ken, you didn't find success right away. What are some of your what are some ways that you got to where you're at today?
Yeah, so I did retail arbitrage first, and then I did drop shipping, Shopify drop shipping. Stumbled through that, learned a bunch of stuff. I did wholesale on Amazon, and then I found private label. So in terms of e-commerce, yeah, I kind of ran through all of those, kind of just digging around, figuring it out. But all the skills, especially like what you mentioned earlier, Kiefer, all those skills that you've been kind of testing and learning, they're going to help you out in private label for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. I also have done drop shipping. I mean, there's a laundry list of it. And if I could go back in time, I would still do those things. I mentioned the example of the cutting board company. One thing I learned that has been, pays dividends today is I filmed pretty much everything that I did. And I got good at editing video. And while that business did not make any money, I now edit my own videos for my listings, and that's just a marketable skill. And so, I'm a little jealous. You've got a very diverse background, and you can pick and choose what things you bring to the table with this new venture. So, kind of turning the page, talk about where you're at in your e-commerce journey. What have you done? And, what are some questions that you have as you look to the future?
Yeah, so I mean, obviously now I've kind of buckled down. I've taken some past knowledge with the last multi-level marketing company I got with, just because that was the one I spent $5,000 on. I was like, this is what I've got. This is what I got to do. I was full blown committed, and it when I first started out, it really it seemed like it was going to work out. But again, with network marketing, you're constantly I mean, every day you're reaching out to people personally. You're spending all your time. I was like, man, this is just, this is really tough to do. So now, I mean, looking at that, and I was like, well, I don't want that knowledge and time I invested for well over a year. And I mean, still now, I still have credit card debt for that specific thing, and I still pay that every time. So it's like, man, this is tough. The product I bought from, and I use it every day. I love it. And so I was like, how can I make this kind of affordable? I think I was listening to one of you guys' podcasts about finding the product and going through like a list, what are the things I know a lot about? What are my interests and things like that? And I was like, okay, I was writing them all down. And I think for me, one of the things I struggle with is I have a lot of different things I'm interested in, but there's not one thing that, screams out, this is my favorite thing. I could do it every day, other than the idea of business. That's something I'm just like, man, it doesn't really matter what it is to an extent. But I just like the idea of business, the competitive marketing, as far as that goes. And just to be able to say I did it, it's been a long dream to actually, make it happen, because I've had a lot of failures. I've spent a lot of money in books and all this different things. And then at one point I said, I got really discouraged and said, I don't want to do this anymore. But then, I think it was about a month ago now that I was like, you know what, I could do this Amazon deal. It's not a big deal. I just, brush it off. Let's go. And so I got really stuck in the product research part. Like, what the heck can I sell that's not selling already? It just seems like, man, this is tough, because there's so many people doing it. How can I make money? And so when I started writing down that list and thinking about what do I know of, I thought about that company, and it's like, okay, well, what's out there as far as this certain product goes, or something similar to? And so when I seen the difference of being, like $20 to the $5,000 I spend, I said, whoa, okay, there might be something to this. I might have room to improve on this, being that I know so much about it. So once I started researching more, I did see that there's an uptrend on Google. I'd done market research in the past. Once I started learning more about it through drop shipping, and it just looked good to me. So I'm feeling pretty confident, just because of my competition. I don't know. It's kind of, I think that's where I'm stuck. I'm kind of nervous. I feel like, it's going to be another one I kind of fell at, and, I'm going to have to bite the bullet. But at the same time, I'm feeling a really good feeling, because as far as the competition that I see, I just feel like they're missing some things that can really make a big difference. And then, as well as the competition being low, it just seems, I feel that I can really scale up through that pretty quickly.
One of the first questions that you said was, what do Ken and I look for when we're analyzing a product and if it'll sell? And I'm going to go into this, but one thing I do want to address now is, after this call, I'm going to send you a calendar invite for November 30th, 2022. That's 2 years from today. And the reason that I say that, I want to talk to you. Let's talk plenty of times between now and then. But the reason I say that is, this is the long game. And one of the things that I think that a lesson I learned early on was, it is a grind. You hear these gurus talk about making $1 million in 30 days. And, I haven't found that. I have not found that to be true. It takes a lot of perseverance. And I think when looking at a timeline, get a year into this, and you will have made a lot of progress. Keep taking steps forward. But I think that 2-year mark is where things finally start to pay off. Ken, what do you like? Would you agree with that?
Yeah, absolutely. This is definitely, it's not a short game. It's, strategic, and you have to plan for the long game. I would agree with David. 24 months. I really didn't start figuring anything out until at least 12 months. And then, you use everything you figured out for the next 12 months, and you kind of build on it. But yeah, it's definitely a long game. And, Kiefer, from it sounds like your background, you've been kind of battling the entrepreneurial journey for several years now, right? So it's the same deal. It's rinse and repeat. Try something. If it doesn't work, fix it, try it again, and keep going, because there's a lot of money to be made on Amazon.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel the same way.
Definitely.
Sure.
So one of your first questions was about product numbers. And first, can you talk about what you were looking for when you were sourcing a product? And then Ken and I will go into, what we're looking for, and maybe we can learn something.
Yeah, I mean, so for me, just coming from the background, with the drop shipping, I kind of looked at this as like, okay, I understand that this time I need to make a valiant effort, and then really just kind of take it one step at a time. I think in the past, my biggest mistake was I was rushing to just get in and then learn versus really starting out right. So once I found something, I said, okay, this is something I know something about. Um, there's already this product on Amazon. So one of my concerns was, well, what all these regulations with, making sure that that product is allowed to be sold, for one with Amazon, or the risk of getting shut down. So I wanted it to be something that was already on there, but I didn't want to Google it or, check on Amazon and there'd be, 100 different people selling the same thing, and really having to work a little bit harder in a sense. I think the first thing I looked at, there's like these little multi-tools. I was like, man, these little multi-tools go great. And then I listened to one of you guys' podcasts saying, you want your product to be over $20. I was like, well, that's out the window. And, that clicked it in. So that helped me focus. Okay, well, I don't want anything pretty much under $20. That makes perfect sense, more stretch. Because originally I had this mindset of like, oh, maybe I could start this with $1,000 budget. And then I realized, well, that's not very much skin in the game. And then there's all these issues with that competition, because, everyone wants to go for the low hanging fruit. So what can I do? So I went through my list, things I know, things I'm into. And so when I found the product and seen that there was demand for it, I just wanted to see that this was actually selling. That if I, bought 100 units, that I wouldn't be stuck with 100 units, that it would eventually sell over, a month, a year, I would hope, and, so I started looking at these numbers. I started getting into more using the market research tools, like Helium Tim, just the free one, just right off the bat, because, if that can give me just enough information, it's enough for me. And so once I started realizing that, there's a good stretch between how much they're selling, between how much the cost is, it really took some pressure off my back. Like, okay, I have room to mess up, because there's profit in every sell. If I could at least take $40, profit, that's a pretty good marketing budget. I think I did pretty well on Facebook ads with that much. So from my understanding, Amazon's probably a lot less than Facebook or Instagram or any of those other ones I've used. So yeah, I think that's kind of where I stood. Just as like, is this product selling regardless of how much it is? I just wasn't 100% sure if necessarily that was a bad thing. Some of the numbers I was seeing, I just kind of was hoping for some reassurance that, just based on some of the stuff I've already done now, even though the sales aren't there, because of what I've seen as far as Google trends, it's on an upwards trend. So I don't know, maybe if I'm in too early, or because it's kind of steady throughout the year. But it seemed good. It pretty much fit every criteria you guys spoke about, other than the monthly numbers. But I think the price point between the profit points in there kind of maybe makes up for some of those numbers that aren't out there. 100 units to 6 units a month. I think at 100 units is what I'm planning to do. At 6 a month, I'm not bad. I think I'm pretty much within that, if I get rid of it all within a year. And I'm feeling pretty confident with just how I've sourced it, because it's beyond different than everything on there. It's the same, but it's different in my opinion, a better way. And the first off was just by the color alone, because it's just not on there already.
Okay. So I use Jungle Scout, and I think we owe it to our listeners to spend a little bit of time here. I'm going to share with you my criteria of what I'm looking for. But please, to the listeners, to you, don't do this first, and I'll explain why. But I use Jungle Scout. Helium 10 would have this data as well. When I use this kind of as a sanity check, but I like to see at least 3,000 sales in the top 10 listings. I like to see some diversification amongst the top 10 sellers. So there's not one or two listings that are dominating. I like to see at least 4 listings with under 100 reviews. I like to see no more than 3 listings with over 500 reviews. And sellers with over 300 sales per month, I love to see that be 7 out of 10. Now, this came from my notes that I took probably a year and a half ago when I was going through a Jungle Scout course. And I'm going to tell you the problem with this. I use this exact criteria, and my first product that I launched was a candlestick holder. Now, that seems absurd, but this candlestick holder met every single one of those criteria. And I'll tell you the reason why. It was the week before Easter. And if you're Catholic or you know anybody that's Catholic, all Easter masses have a candlelight vigil. And if you can imagine holding a candlestick in your hand, there's a little cardboard wafer that would slide over the top of that to prevent you from getting hot wax on your hand. Very simple product. And so I looked at that, and because of the time of the year, I just thought, oh, this is a slam dunk product. I can tell you I still have about 5,000 of those sitting in my basement. I mean, just a garbage product. And what I did was I followed the instructions of the training. And so that was a lesson learned. In one recommendation I would make to you is think about what specialized knowledge that you have. So you said that you'd been working construction for 7 years. That is something that is you have some specialized knowledge there. And so I'll give you an example. I have a friend in my mastermind. He's a painter. He painted for 30 years. He invented this little plastic piece that slides over a door hinge. So when you're spraying a wall, you don't need to cover the door hinge with painter's tape. You just put this little plastic doodad on there and you paint. And he sells the shit out of them. I mean, it's an awesome product. And that comes from his specialized knowledge. I also have another friend in a mastermind that grew up, his dad had a plumbing supply company. He worked in a plumbing supply warehouse and just became very familiar with what is in demand and what are the names of the products. And he has a 7-figure business based in plumbing supply. And so I would think about what specialized knowledge you have and maybe start there. Now, I'm not discouraging you from launching this product that you're talking about. In fact, based on what you told us before the episode, I think it's a solid product. But I think as you think through this, think about what specialized knowledge do I have that I can bring to the table. So, Ken, what are your thoughts here? What should he be looking for when he's sourcing his product?
Yeah, so I think in terms of numbers, that the numbers that you shared with us, Kiefer, they sound on point. I know the price point is a little bit higher, so sometimes you hear like, okay, well, you need to have 10 sales a day or 20 sales a day, which would be 300 or 600 a month. But if that's that criteria is usually for you'll hear them reference that as like if it's a $25 product, right? If you're selling a $100 product, then maybe you would only need 2.5 sales per day, right? 60 sales a month. So those are kind of the numbers that I'm looking for. And you went even a little bit next level and you've looked at Google Trends, right? So does the Google Trends go several years and is it pretty steady and it's increasing?
Yeah, absolutely. So my products, it's been around for over 30 years. But as far as like very specific keyword, what the product is, and then you look from the lifetime up to the today, you do see like a very straightforward upward thing, something you'd love to see in your stocks. Something kind of like the Apple, it's just a solid upward hill, no excessive drops, it doesn't look like the fidget spinners, it's not a huge jump and then a drop. Right. Nothing like that. It's a solid upward trend. As far as where it lands, it's actually mostly in countries. From what I know, we're only touching about 3% market share or recognition of what it is, just based on my multi-level marketing company that I was with that kind of pertains within the same area of this. So it's been around for a really long time, but people are really starting just to catch wind. Like I said, something that's it's not directly to what you see in the stores and on the shelves, but it's starting to come around a lot more. I think people are becoming more familiar with what it is. So then when I looked at specific keywords, kind of like the same thing. If you look through the past 12 months, it's pretty much steady. It's just up, down, like a straight line. But as far as you go back, like I said, it's just like the stocks. You want to see them going up a mountain, and you don't want to see them dropping off the cliff. And there's none of that. So, and just from what I know, it's I see people within my network marketing company. I mean, these guys are making ridiculous money. I mean, they're making $10,000 a month. Still, I mean, they're still selling these machines like hotcakes. I don't know how they do it. They have really good personable skills. I just, like I said, there's some friction for me as far as that part goes. I really like the idea of being like the kind of like behind the keyboard. There's not really any personable branding in that. Not that I don't know how to do that. It's just there was some friction, and I think a $5,000 product's kind of like a tall order to really try and sell. Honestly,
so before the show, you shared with us that you're getting samples now on the way. What are there any questions that you have for us regarding like suppliers, sample shipping, listings, things like that? What's next?
Yeah. So I think one of my only concerns was, right off the bat, I know that listening to some of you guys' previous podcasts, you had spoken about, at the end of the day, you really want to get your product directly from the manufacturer, just because if you use like a trader or like a middle person, they are taking, a cut somewhere. But being that I wanted to keep my order quantity down lower, I think the first person I reached out to is directly to the manufacturer. But they didn't want to put the logo on there. They said I'd have to. They were going to let me do what I wanted with the product, but they'd only let me. I couldn't put my logo on it. I had to order 1,000 units to do that. So there was the first person I was talking to, and they were very quick. I mean, right away. But they said they were a trader. They weren't the manufacturer, but they have, their own store, I guess, within Alibaba, and they have really good relationships with their manufacturers. And they were able, like, because I was going back and forth with some ideas. Can I change this on it? What are my options here? And they were just kind of showing me different ones, and I was like, okay. So they really worked with me a lot as far as to really put kind of what I was thinking as far as differentiating the market on this particular item, and kind of just kept sending me different ones. And then they were really working well with me on that. And then as well, he was able to get my logo on there and my my order quantity, because I wanted to keep it around 100 to 200, but also want to have my logo on it. I think I'm paying about $21 per unit. And I think the manufacturer, when I asked them for 100 units without my logo, they wanted me upwards of 25. So overall, just the trader seemed to be able to get me a better deal. I didn't know if that was, a good thing, a bad thing, maybe good for now. I think later, maybe it would be good to go directly to the manufacturer to save some cost there. But as of right now, do you feel it's a good idea, I suppose?
All right. So I think you bring up a really good point. And to our audience, I'd just like to break down really quick the difference between manufacturer and trading company. So a manufacturer is who is making it. There are also companies called trading companies, and they will act as an intermediary in between the manufacturer and you. And you mentioned a previous episode where we had talked about, try to go directly to the manufacturer. And as you bring up that advice, I kind of feel like I'm putting my foot in my mouth a little bit. And here's why. When I am choosing a manufacturer or a trading company, I like to have options. Price is important. Order quantity is important. Can you put a logo on it is important. And, you have to put yourself in the shoes of the manufacturer. If they receive an Alibaba message, they don't know you. They don't have any relationship with you. And so they may quote you a higher price. If a trading company has a relationship with a manufacturer, they may actually be able to get you better pricing or a lower order quantity, as with your case. And so here's my thought. What you're doing, spending some time in evaluating your samples, evaluating manufacturers and trading companies, spend some time here, but don't get stuck. I like to have as many people at the table when I make my final decision. And so if I have the option of choosing from 5 or choosing from 10, I'm always going to pick 10. And that doesn't need to be 10, samples that you get mailed to you. That can get expensive, but maybe 10 interactions with different companies. And as you found, you're getting better pricing, a lower minimum order quantity, and you get your logo. And so to me, that's a slam dunk. Go with a trading company. And once you establish that relationship, you may go directly to the manufacturer. But at the end of the day, you are concerned about profit margin. And if you can get it at a lower price and better terms through a trading company, you might as well go through that trading company as opposed to going directly to the manufacturer. Ken, what do you think?
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I have a couple of trading companies that I still work with now, and it's sometimes it's more flexible. A manufacturer, they might not want to do a low MOQ, or they or whatever. And your orders might be too small for them, but with the trading company, they're gonna work for you and try to make it happen. Another thing is too, you can always like David said, you don't want to just stay with one supplier. You want to reach out and get multiple different suppliers. And then one of the other things too is you don't want to get stuck here. You want to move forward, and you want to get speed to market is another thing, right? Like you need to get it launched, get it on the market, get it launched, and then get it tested. Once it starts selling, if hey, this is starting to sell, it's starting to take off really good, then you go back to the drawing board and say, okay, let me go to this manufacturer and hit them up for 10,000 units, 20,000 units, and you could get better pricing at that point. So
right, okay. So yeah, I mean that's kind of where I was at with it. It just seemed like as of right now, it was my best option.
One last thing I want to mention, because you're in this stage, when you get your sample, when you get the box, go inside and open it and think of yourself as the consumer. If you were to open this, what would be your initial takeaways? And very simply, when I get an Amazon package, it usually meets my expectations. Probably not going to leave a review. Sometimes it exceeds my expectations. I am more likely to leave a review. And sometimes it doesn't meet my expectations. And so think about that. Your gut feeling within the first 30 seconds of looking at this product is likely going to be the gut feeling of your consumers. And so think about that, and trust your gut here. I mean, if you don't feel like the manufacturer did as high of quality as they promised, then spend a little more time here and find somebody else. But don't get stuck. Don't get stuck.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think I reached out to about 10. It was tough for me. I think just being kind of maybe within, like I said, it's kind of like a new market. The product seems to be a little bit of a new concept. I think it's been around for, let's see, the first seller on Amazon started about 2018. So you're looking at 2 years coming on 3 years. So I think they've kind of been tried and true. I mean, different shapes, sizes. As far as what I was looking for is pretty limited. I think I reached out to every single one as far as what I was looking for. And most of them were direct manufacturers. I think I just, by luck, happened to land on one of these traders that was, but it turned out, it was funny, I actually double messaged them because they had multiple different options. And then so I was like, oh, okay, I'm sorry, talking to the same person here. Don't mind me. But no, they were super cool. Great communication. I think one of the manufacturers, I mean, they were just kind of blunt, almost rude. I was like, all right, even if it's a small order, regardless, I always like to be taken serious or as a value, no matter how small. And I think right off the bat, that trader kind of established a really good presence with me just by being very responsive and kind of helping me out a little bit, actually sending me physical pictures right then and there of what it looked like. So that was cool.
Well, very nice. What are some other questions you've had as you enter this process?
So I think shipping was one of the big ones, but I kind of went back into that kind of just learned a little bit more about as far as that goes through YouTube and some more of you guys' podcasts. Let's see. Yeah, the labeling. I think it was kind of the labeling. There's some misconstruction with me as far as that goes. When you send those products in, um, I think my trader said that they put the ASIN, once I send it to them, on each individual box and then outside of the cartons. Um, is that how they do it? Is it the ASIN they put on there, the UPC codes? I think that's what kind of really hung me up when I was first kind of getting going. And some of that's still a little bit fuzzy. I don't know why.
I got it. I was actually just setting up some listings today. So I am going to, and we'll have this in the show notes, but I'm going to sign into my Amazon account and I'm going to tell you exactly how you would do this. So once you have your listing set up, you would go to inventory and manage inventory. And once you're there, you'll see your product and you're going to check a box. And there's a drop down menu that says print item labels. And what you'll do is you will PDF that and send it to your manufacturer. And just follow that process, and that'll get you to where you need to go. What I'll also tell you is that on your first order, this is something that you shouldn't be worrying about unless you're sending in multiple variations. So if you're sending in a box that has like 3 different variations, you would probably want to take care of this yourself. However, if you're sending in one color, one size, one variation, you can have Amazon do it, and I think it costs either 20 or 25 cents per unit. And so with your higher cost units, you can, when you're creating your first order, there's a drop-down menu that says merchant applies barcodes or Amazon applies barcodes. And you can just select Amazon applies barcodes, and they'll take care of it for you. And so I would say with your particular item, I would go this route and just forget about it. But if your manufacturer is willing to print them out and apply them, follow the steps that I said, and that'll get you to where you need to go.
Okay, yeah, because I think from my understanding, that's what they said that they'd end up doing. So it is the ASIN, the code that Amazon gives to me after putting in that product into the Amazon listing or whatever as far as that goes. And then that ASIN's what they stick on the boxes, correct? That's the only thing they need on that box?
It'll either be the ASIN or the UPC code. It doesn't matter as long as you generate that label through Amazon. Amazon will give you what you need. Okay. And so when you follow those steps that I laid out before, right, it'll either be the ASIN or the UPC, but that number doesn't really matter. As long as it's getting stuck on the right box, you're in good shape.
And like David said, when you go in and you can print out the labels and the barcodes, and depending on your product, if it's in a box or if it's you can, and I don't know if you're designing product packaging for it or not, you can actually send the FN SKU over to your manufacturer and just have them put it on the box. So and then it'd be ready to go.
Right, yeah. So my product it'd be kind of like a small box, almost like a shoebox size.
Okay. Yeah. I would just do exactly what David said. Download that PDF, and then have your manufacturer. Are you having a box designed, or do they have a template, or?
So yeah, I think that was the one thing my trader couldn't do. They couldn't really change the box unless it was up to 1,000, which I was fine with. I think I can go with just a plain white, which I was fine with. And then there was another one which kind of had, kind of like the product, but it had it kind of looked odd to me. Like you said, that first impression when you pull it out, I think it kind of takes away from versus just a plain white box. And I think I'm gonna kind of negotiate with them just to maybe if I can just get plain white boxes, because then it kind of just leaves it open. Nothing too out there.
Sure. Yeah. So it sounds like what David mentioned earlier, having Amazon apply those is going to be your best route. We call that the minimum viable product, getting something to market, and then the next time you order it, then you'll have some cash. You can upgrade your packaging and then start getting it dialed in. But to get it to market, what David mentioned earlier is probably going to be your best bet.
Okay. And then I guess within that same topic too, I think. Ken, it was you who's messaged back about you said kind of maybe wait until the beginning of the year, 2021, which is I also kind of felt the same, just so there wasn't too much pressure on my back, not too much craziness as far as the market goes with all the Christmas shopping. It just seemed like a good fresh slate to start in the beginning of January. if I decide that this is the product after it arrives and I source and it meets my quality standards, do you feel like it'd be good to like C ship my order if it were to say if I did it in December and it was going to take up to 30 days to get to Amazon, process through there, and it would be available within January? Would that be good? Or airship in the beginning of January?
I would not recommend air shipping anything in Q4 unless you absolutely had to, because the shipping cost is really high in Q4. And I definitely wouldn't recommend launching your first product in December, because you're going to want to run, Amazon PPC, and it's really high during the holidays. So the cost per click goes way up. So, I don't know what the product weighs. Is it heavy or light, or it's
Pound and a half?
pound and a half, and it fits in a shoebox?
So I think the size would be, it says large standard size is what Amazon's saying that the comparable one is.
Okay, so it's going to probably, what's the lead time? 30 days?
I think, yeah, they said, I mean, if I were to do sea shipping, they told me obviously it'd be cheaper, obviously. So I think about 30 days. Yeah, about 30 days would it be for that after it's manufactured.
My recommendation would be I would air ship in partial order. Say you're going to order 200 units to launch. I would air ship maybe 50 of them, and then I would sea ship the other 150. And then it solves two problems. One, you can get it to market quick, and two, you're going to save cost. So depends if it's, you might just want to air ship them all like in January. There's also Chinese New Year, so you're going to want to look at that and kind of time the production. So a couple options: air shipping them anytime you launching, especially a product that you have a little bit of a margin on. You can air ship it. It sounds like that one probably is you're only doing 200 units. So I would seriously consider air shipping.
Okay. Yeah, that's got the kind of think that's where I was feeling as well, just to not kind of overcomplicate it and not have that feeling of, I don't know, lag time as far as getting to market goes. Just because there was so much profit margin, just to kind of get going and really get my feet wet and just get going on it.
Sure. Yeah. Speed to market is huge a lot of times. And if you're launching bowling balls, I wouldn't be telling you to air ship them. But if it's if it's a pound and a half and it fits in a shoebox, then my first to market, I would air ship. What do you think, David?
Yeah, I would agree with that. I won't let this be a roadblock for you.
Okay.
I think this is kind of another opportunity to kick the can down the road. And I would say if you were to, get your Amazon account set up, get your product photos set up, don't wait to take action until January 1st. And so, I wouldn't hesitate to place your order and take a look at air shipping. And, one thing that I like to do if I want products soon is I'll take 10% of them, I'll air ship them, and I'll sea ship the rest. And so that's an option for you. But yeah, I think Ken characterized it perfectly. So Kiefer, what are some other questions that you have?
So the pictures, I think that was something I was kind of looking at. My idea as far as like what I wanted to do as far as my product photography is a little bit different than to what I'm seeing. I just don't know if it's common. Well, it does seem kind of common, but I just don't know why that is. So on Amazon, it seems like a lot of products, they almost seem like 3D renderings. Like they just don't seem like they're showing the actual product. And for me, I like doing a lot of secondhand shopping, like Facebook Market, Craigslist. I've done like a lot of bartering and stuff like that. For me, I like seeing the actual product. I can, however, I do have the skills to kind of edit that, put white space around it. But it feels like a lot of 3D renderings. I just don't know if that's good practice, that people like 3D renderings, or if it would be good to kind of, really capture the product, remove any outer space, and then apply that white background. Because my competitors, I just feel like a lot of theirs is 3D. I mean, they do have their kind of like infographics with itself, so like little circles, and it's got little details and things like that, which I thought would be good to add. But I will kind of feel they're lacking some lifestyle photos. It's literally the bottle edited on a person who's not really holding the bottle. It just, I don't know, it seems cheesy to me. What do you guys think on that?
Yeah, so I would say, and I'll give you my advice, but I would say a deep dive. Everything that we know about product photography is in episode 17, A Beginner's Guide to Product Photography. But I would say, based on what you've told us now, this is something that I would look to outsource. And, as it relates to what you want your hero image to be, and this is going to cost a little bit more, but I would have a couple different hero images. And what you can do is you can split test those. You can look at what is converting. And when you have 3 options, you can, change them every week and measure what is doing better, what attracts the most eyeballs. But if you think about how you shop, when you're scrolling through Amazon, most likely it's the picture that gets your attention, right? There may be a catchy title, but like, it's the picture. We are visual creatures. And so unless you have a background in photography or somebody that takes really good photos, I think that this would be something good to get off your plate. And just to be like very blunt, if I was you, I would go to productphotography.com. I think it's $80 per hero image. They also do infographics. They sell packages. I went back and I looked at, I've got about 300 SKUs, and I looked at my top performing, most profitable ASINs, and all of them have been from images, hero images that I've outsourced. I have an LED light box. I have taken a ton of pictures on my own. From a number standpoint, those have not performed relative to the professional photos. And so I also would add that don't do the same thing that your competitors are doing. Your competitors already have reviews. And so if you are offering something that is the same as them and you have less reviews, most likely the customer is just going to buy theirs. And so I think thinking of ways, as you mentioned, to differentiate yourself from these other suppliers, I think is a great idea. And so you had mentioned like lack of infographics. That's a great spot. Put that in your number 2 slot on pictures, right next to your hero image. And that'd be a great way to set yourself apart from the pack. And I would also mention, I know you didn't ask about this, but video. That is something that, and this can be something that you shoot yourself. This can be something that you outsource, but show the product in use. When I'm shopping, I love to look at product videos over and above images. And if I look at my listings that convert the best, they're the ones with video.
Absolutely. So yeah, I think that was the route I kind of want to go. It just felt like looking at my competitors' photos, I don't think any of them actually had video. They actually never really show the actual product, and I feel like it's just a huge miss, because then, I mean, they're having to dig into reviews, and for me, I feel like if you do have negative reviews within those reviews and they're searching for photos, and then they start stumbling upon that, it just, if they're having to dig for more information, I think you're really possibly maybe losing the sell. I think you want to be clear right off the bat. Some of the dimensions are missing. I think dimensions is huge for this product, because it's another thing. Like, well, how big is it? How much is, and nothing's converted as far as, say, like if it, how much it holds, as far as, say, if it holds a liquid, then they're not touching how much ounces. It's still in milliliters. I think you really got to look at your market as far as those things go. So those are some of the things I'm seeing that are missing on what they're doing on their listings.
Yeah, a couple things I'd like to add to that, Kiefer, is it sounds like you have a pretty good read on the lifestyle and using the product. I totally agree with that. And you want to have lifestyle images with models that are happy and smiling, right? Like you want the customer to look at that image and put themselves there, like, oh, that product's going to make me happy too, right? A couple of things. One, for your lead image, like David mentioned, you definitely want to spend the cash on it and get it professionally done. I would even recommend getting, like David said, 2 or 3 hero images, and you can go to a site called PickFu, and if you know your demographics on who buys this product, you can spend $100 on PickFu and get a survey of, you want to drill into people that shop on Amazon. People are at this demographic, female, male, whatever it is, that's going to use your product. And then you can run it through, and you can have the highest converting hero image, at least one to start with right out of the gate. And the second thing is a little bit next level, but you can go and get like your top 3 competitors and dig through their listings, go to all the questions, the FAQs and questions on their listings, and get all those and write them down, and then translate that information. Like, what are people asking? Like you mentioned earlier, the dimensions, that's huge, right? If you see like on every single listing, people are saying, how big is this? Or how much does this hold? Or whatever, what's the warranty, or what's the life of this product? Whatever it is, incorporate those into your images, and you're going to answer the questions. So could be helpful.
Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. That's great. Yes. So that's something I kind of wouldn't have thought about as far as, I kind of touched on it, but maybe undervalued maybe how important that is. So I'm really glad I asked that question for sure.
Definitely. What else is on your list?
So expectation as far as like when sales start. Yeah, I know you guys said like perseverance. Maybe it's a reassurance kind of question, and I think it might vary between product to product. I think it just really depends. But as far as you guys know, as far as when you first launching your product, when do you, I say, would see kind of like your first sell after ad spend? About an average number of ad spend before actually seeing your first sell? And also within that topic, kind of, I heard some of you guys talking about building an audience before a launch. So I actually have about 8,500 followers on my Instagram. I've got it up to 10,000 a couple times, but I never had a link to actually share, so I got to get back up there. But as far as that goes, because I think 2 of those kind of go hand in hand.
Definitely. So I'm going to just attack the build the audience. 8,500 is a lot of followers. That exceeds any brand that I currently have. And that is huge. That's a lot of eyeballs. And so when you think about your product launch, think about pay-per-click advertising. But those posts are free. It takes your time to create them, but I would have a countdown. I would have a 7-day countdown and to your product launch. And to the extent that your product is in inventory, have a launch day. And offer coupon codes, offer things to your audience that's going to drive traffic. And so that is huge. That's a humongous asset that you have. So
you mentioned earlier that you have the Instagram following. I would say, like, kind of David, I would attack your first product launch pretty heavy. Get your Instagram following, get coupon codes, get them all dialed in, and so as soon as that listing goes live, you crank up an auto PPC campaign, and then you hit it pretty heavy, because the first they call this the honeymoon period. The first 2 weeks to 30 days of a product launch is when Amazon is learning about this product. The algorithm is looking at all the keywords in the listing and figuring out, okay, what is this product and who's going to be buying this? So you want to start up an auto PPC campaign, set your bids pretty high, and whatever your budget is for a launch, you might, you'll have to figure it out, whether you're going to go 10, 20, 50, $100 a day or whatever. I mean, you're going to get sales pretty much immediately. Like within the first few days, flood your Instagram followers to your listing, get that traffic, because as soon as you can get that flywheel going on Amazon, and hit it with all different signals, like if you hit it with people from your Instagram, it's going to be signals from social media. If you hit it from PPC campaign, they're going to be getting, from there. If you can hit it from a bunch of different angles, Facebook ads, maybe drive some couple Facebook ads, just kind of trickle in. You can also do the Amazon Vine and the early reviewer program as well. And that's going to, I do that now. As soon as you launch your product, you can enroll in there. It's going to get you kind of that momentum, the sales moving, and it's also going to get you some reviews, your initial reviews. So all of that stuff together is pretty important. But the answer to your question is, you should get sales in the first couple of days once you turn on that auto PPC campaign, if you have your listing and everything dialed in.
I'm going to tell you kind of a alternate scenario, which was mine. First month, I made 3 sales for a total of $45. First 2 months, I was still under $200 in sales. I would say, if you follow these steps, you will likely make some sales for sure. But to the extent that does not happen, do not stop. When you launch a product, you have 0 reviews. And so, doing things like the early reviewer program, like Ken mentioned, is a great idea. And what I can tell you is it will only get better. There are some products that I've launched that have been slow burns, and it's taken a year to ramp up. And so if you don't have that success early on, do not get discouraged, and, continue on. Keep looking for ways, if you don't have video, add video. Make sure you're filling up, all of your product photos, change your title, switch things up, but don't stop. And you're definitely going to learn things in this phase.
Yeah, no, that's super helpful. I think that really helps me a lot. It's completely different, so it's really hard to take some of my past knowledge with the whole drop shipping versus Amazon, just because there's so many things that are lined up to be successful with Amazon that wasn't necessarily given when I tried drop shipping. And I think just right off the bat is the fact that Amazon already has so many trusted followers that when they buy something off there, especially if they have Prime, the 2-day shipping, there's already a level of trust given by the customer. So I think that's reassuring, knowing that, that ad spend is probably going to end up paying off, within the first week.
Yeah. One big difference that I've noticed, or you'll notice as well, from coming from drop shipping or Shopify, with the drop shipping or Shopify store, you're going to have to send traffic to it, right? You're going to have to send paid traffic to it. So the difference with Amazon is they have, tens of millions of eyeballs that are going to flood in and see it. So, and with that trust factor, the same, now PPC is obviously going to be, a little bit cheaper than flooding a bunch of paid traffic to a Shopify store, because the trust factor is not there, right? So it might take 20 visits to get a conversion, whereas on Amazon your conversion rate is going to be a lot higher. So you'll probably hopefully you're going to be surprised whenever you start running ads and you get high conversion rates. So a conversion rate on your listing, it really depends on reviews. It depends on a lot of stuff, images, reviews, a lot of things, but a good conversion rate, over 20% is a good conversion rate. That's I would target that.
Right on. Yeah, no, absolutely. Yeah, I'm overall, I'm pretty excited. I'm feeling pretty confident with my standpoint. So it's really good to kind of reach out and talk with you guys and know that, a lot of the things I'm kind of thinking or stressing about is kind of, coming together. It's pretty helpful. Just having someone who's done it, has tried and true and things, just to say listen, I think you're going good. Just keep going. So I thank you guys for that.
Definitely. Absolutely. We enjoy this. Let's do one more question and then dive into the fire round.
I guess this kind of goes back to some of my product research and some of the things I've seen on Amazon. Let's see, like a BSR rating, like a bestseller rating. So with this product, it kind of ranged between like 190 to about 83. I think somewhere in a few of those too. I did see somewhere in like 5,000. Um, but they rank in different categories at different levels, anywhere from like 5,000 to like 200, just different categories. Uh, just another kind of reassurance that those sound like pretty reasonable numbers as far as that goes. I just seemed like they were so far stretched on some of them as far as bestseller rating and kind of like where they ranked within different categories.
Oh yeah, yeah. So the BSR in different categories is going to be different, right? So like,
Right.
let's say you have home and kitchen versus furniture or something, right? So like a lower BSR just means a higher sales velocity, and those numbers you're saying, you said 180. That's a really high sales velocity, no matter what category it's in. That's a really high sales velocity. 5,000, that's a legitimate sales velocity. I don't target anything super low because you're going to have a lot of competition coming in, right? So in that, it's tough to say like, hey, here's a perfect sweet spot for BSR. And really, the BSR is not really a metric that I even really look at. A BSR is almost like it's almost like just your rating for sales, how many sales you're getting. It really doesn't have an impact on anything. What I do look at BSR is I look at BSR for sales history and trends. So, I mean, you've looked at Google Trends for this product. I would look at the BSR over 2 years and see is it seasonal, is it spike or whatever. But in terms of BSR, I wouldn't really look at that in terms of numbers. Now the category is a different story. So when you launch your product, you want to make sure you launch it in the right category. So if your competitors are all in one category, I would definitely launch it in the same category. Now, if they're spread apart, you might want to take a look at that and see if some competitors are doing better in a certain category than the other ones. So you might want to look at that a little bit. So
okay, so yeah, I think it landed. It's household items, like kitchen items and sports items, and to be like the three which I could see they could fit into. But it does seem like within the kitchen spaces, some of those best numbers I was seeing.
yeah, I would go in that direction then and launch it in that category. All right, Kiefer. So anytime we have a guest on Firing the Man podcast, we do a lightning round, and we ask 3 questions. They're really easy. Are you ready?
Yep, let's shoot.
All right. What is your favorite book?
I think for me, my favorite book is as it pertains to what I am interested in at that moment or what left a big impact. So one of them was the 4-Hour Work Week. I think as that one pertains to Amazon and business in general, really helped put in perspective as far as like what online business could be. I think it kind of even goes back to like a Rich Dad Poor Dad. I think it helped put in perspective as far as how you make a business, and more specifically a business out of the online space, as far as like outsourcing. Yeah, I think that was one of my top favorites. I'm currently rereading one right now. I don't know if you guys heard it. It's called Becoming Supernatural by Dr. Joe Dispenza.
I've not heard of that one.
I've heard him on. He's been on Rogan. Yeah. I really like him. I'm smiling over here. You mentioned 2 books, 4-Hour Work Week and Rich Dad Poor Dad. I've read a lot of books in my day. I've only reread 2 books, and you named both of them. I don't like to reread books, but I think there are some very valuable lessons in each one of those that it's worth rereading or revisiting every couple years. So, awesome read.
Both great books. So Kiefer, what are your hobbies?
Well, there's quite a few things I like to do. Being in Oregon, I do have the chance to go snowboarding. I really enjoy that. It's not something I'm like a diehard fan about, but I do think it's something that's pretty challenging. So I do like to do that. fitness. I do like fitness. CrossFit was super fun. I like fixing things, cars. Probably why I've done construction for a while. I like working with my hands. I'm pretty open as far as I go. If it's something I enjoy, I'm pretty competitive. So anything competitive is good for me. Video games to physical contact. I wrestled in high school. So yeah.
Nice. All right. So you're pretty active. That's awesome. Okay. Last question. What do you think sets apart successful e-commerce entrepreneurs from those who give up, fail, or never get started?
I think it's about who you surround yourself with. I think that's probably the number one thing in general as far as success, especially if you have other trouble getting motivated or just kind of sticking with it. It's just really having the right network, the right people kind of supporting you and giving you that confidence to kind of really take on whatever it is you're trying to do. Perseverance, never giving up. I mean, I've tried so many different things, fell on my face, some worked out, some didn't. I think just knowing that no matter what you try, no matter what happens, the learning process of that, whether you failed, is worth the investment alone. I mean, I've lost a lot of money. Well, I wouldn't say lost money. I've spent a lot of money in books and online courses and all these different things, and it's like, oh man, I haven't made a single buck off of any of this stuff, but as it comes to today, a lot of this stuff's, I think, really put me ahead of the game. So I think it's just a matter of, being surrounded by those right people and, just keep moving forward. You just got to get up.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. And Kiefer, you've been sharpening your sword for a long time with all those skills, man. And surrounding yourself with positive, like-minded people is huge. Yeah, David, you want to close out the show?
Yeah, absolutely. This has been an awesome episode, Kiefer. I'm really excited for you and where you're headed. Thank you so much for being a guest on the show.
Yeah, no, thank you guys. Like I said, this is huge for me. This meant a lot that you guys, took the time out of your day to kind of chat with me a little bit. Maybe if some of these questions might have seemed simplistic or a little bit or nervous, I think most of it was just like, I just need someone to say like, yeah, just, you can go for it. You're on the right step. There's probably some things I could adjust here and there, but I mean, overall, you guys really helped me out quite a bit.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for being on the show.
Thank you.